The ultimatum. The vast emptiness of space stretched before Captain Elena Reyes as she stood on the observation deck of the ESS Defiant. Earth's primary defense carrier gleamed in the distant sunlight, its newly installed quantum shields humming with barely contained energy. After 15 years of service in the Earth Defense Fleet, Elena still found herself in awe of the cosmos, an endless canvas of stars and darkness that had called to humanity for centuries. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi Tanaka's voice broke through her thoughts. They're approaching the Mars defense perimeter. Elena turned to face her XO, whose usual calm demeanor had given way to visible tension. His hands were clasped behind his back, knuckles white with strain. "How many?" she asked, though the intelligence reports had already prepared her for the answer. 73 capital ships, Captain. Over 200 support vessels. The Krivak aren't taking any chances this time. Elena nodded grimly. After humanity's first contact with the Krivak Empire 3 months ago, Earth's combined defense fleet, a mere 38 ships hastily assembled after the discovery of faster-than-light travel just a decade earlier, seemed hopelessly outmatched. "Let's get to the bridge," she said, falling into step beside Tanaka. "Has the Defense Council been notified?" "Yes, Mom. Admiral Chen is requesting a full status update in 10 minutes. The bridge of the Defiant buzzed with controlled chaos as tactical officers monitored their stations and prepared for what might be humanity's last stand. The atmosphere was tense but disciplined. Each officer knew their role in the coming conflict. "Put the approaching fleet on the main display," Elena ordered as she settled into her command chair. The holographic projection materialized, showing the vast armada of the Krivak Empire. Their ships were sleek and organic-looking, resembling predatory sea creatures rather than the utilitarian designs of Earth's vessels. The Krivak had mastered interstellar travel millennia before humans had even dreamed of flying. "Open a channel to all Earth vessels," Elena commanded, "and get me a secure line to Admiral Chen." As her communications officer carried out the orders, Elena studied the alien ships with mounting concern. The Krivak Empire had made first contact with Earth just 3 months ago, when a diplomatic vessel had entered the solar system. They had introduced themselves as the dominant force in this arm of the galaxy, a coalition of 15 species that had ruled for over 12,000 years. The main display split to show Admiral Chen, her weathered face set in grim determination. "They're earlier than we anticipated, Captain." "Yes, Admiral. Their propulsion systems must be more advanced than our initial estimates." "Has there been any communication from?" Chen began, only to be interrupted by the communications officer. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the lead Krivak vessel." Elena exchanged a look with Chen. "Put it through on both feeds." The screen changed to show High Commander Zhovak, the Krivak's chief military diplomat. His reptilian features were framed by an elaborate headdress denoting his elevated status within the Empire. 4 golden eyes regarded Elena with cold calculation. "Captain Reyes," Zhovak said, his translator converting his clicking speech into English, "I trust your species has considered the Empire's generous proposition." Elena straightened in her chair. "High Commander, we've transmitted our response to your ultimatum. Earth will not surrender its sovereignty to the Krivak Empire." Zhovak's head tilted slightly. "Then I must inform you that the Imperial Council has declared humanity to be a destabilizing element in this sector. Your unprecedented technological advancement from primitive tools to faster-than-light travel in less than 10 millennia is troubling." "We call it innovation, High Commander," Elena replied. "It's what humans do." "It is dangerous," Zhovak stated flatly. "Species that develop too rapidly invariably lack the wisdom to wield advanced technology responsibly. The Empire has maintained order in this sector for 12,000 years by carefully managing technological proliferation." Admiral Chen spoke up. "And yet you refuse to share that technology with us unless we accept subjugation." "Correct," Zhovak confirmed. "You must understand your place in the galactic hierarchy before you can be trusted with such knowledge." Elena leaned forward. High Commander, humans have a long history of resisting those who demand our submission. We would prefer peaceful relations with the Empire, but we will defend our freedom. Jovac's expression remained unchanged. Your preference is noted but irrelevant. You have 1 Earth hour to reconsider. After that, the Imperial fleet will demonstrate the consequences of defiance. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in momentary silence. Well, that went as expected. Chen sighed. Are all ships in position, Captain? Elena checked the tactical display. Yes, Admiral, though I don't believe our current formation will withstand their numerical advantage. It doesn't need to, Chen reminded her. It just needs to buy us enough time to implement Project Prometheus. Elena nodded, though the thought of their desperate last resort plan made her stomach tighten. Project Prometheus wasn't a conventional military strategy. It was something entirely new, developed in secret by Earth's best scientists and strategists after they realized they couldn't match the Krivak's military might. Is the package ready? Chen asked. Yes, Admiral. All ships have it loaded and prepared for simultaneous broadcast. Chen's expression grew solemn. Captain Rice, you understand that if this fails, humanity likely faces extinction or subjugation. Every human being will either die or live as a second-class citizen under Imperial rule for generations to come. I understand, Admiral. Then I am officially authorizing the use of Project Prometheus. May God help us all. The Admiral's feed went dark. Elena took a deep breath and turned to her crew. Signal all ships, battle stations. Prepare Project Prometheus for deployment on my mark. The bridge erupted into action as officers rushed to comply. Warning klaxons sounded throughout the ship as crew members hurried to their posts. Lieutenant Tanaka approached Elena. Captain, preliminary scans of the Imperial fleet show their weapon systems are powering up. They're not waiting for the hour to expire. Typical, Elena muttered. They never intended to give us time to reconsider. They just wanted to see if we'd panic and surrender immediately. Tanaka hesitated before asking, Are we certain about Project Prometheus, Captain? It's never been tested against alien technology. No, Elena admitted. We're not certain, but it's the only card we have left to play. The tactical officer's voice cut through the bridge. Imperial ships are moving into attack formation. They're targeting our largest vessels first. Elena stood and faced the main display. The vast alien armada was spreading out, surrounding Earth's much smaller fleet in a classic encirclement maneuver. All ships maintain position, she ordered. Do not fire unless fired upon. Captain, Tanaka said quietly, the scientists who developed Project Prometheus estimated only a 32% chance of success. Elena nodded. I know, but even a small chance is better than none. The first energy beams from the Imperial ships streaked across space, striking 2 Earth vessels at the edge of the formation. Their shields flared brilliantly before failing, their hulls breaching in multiple places. Casualties reported on the Intrepid and Dauntless, the tactical officer announced. Their life support systems are failing. Elena clenched her jaw. Send rescue shuttles and open a channel to all Earth vessels. When the communications officer nodded, she continued, All ships, this is Captain Reyes. Commence Project Prometheus. I repeat, commence Project Prometheus. Throughout the Earth fleet, communications officers executed the same command. Instead of returning fire with conventional weapons, every human ship activated a special broadcasting array aimed directly at the Krivak fleet. Elena watched the display as the Imperial ships continued their advance. In moments, they would be in range to destroy the Defiant and most of Earth's remaining fleet. Project Prometheus active, Captain, Tanaka reported. Transmitting now. Elena nodded grimly. Now we find out if we understand our enemy as well as we think we do. The bridge fell silent as humanity's last hope, not a weapon, but a message, streaked across the void toward the approaching armada. And if we're wrong? Tanaka whispered. Elena kept her eyes fixed on the view screen, and the overwhelming force arrayed against them. Then the history of humanity ends today. High Commander Jovac stood on the command deck of the Krivak flagship Inevitable Conquest, watching with satisfaction as his ships surrounded the primitive human vessels. His tall, slender form towered over the other officers, his scaled skin gleaming under the ambient light of the bridge. "The humans are not responding to our final warning, High Commander," said Sub-Commander Trelnak, Jovac's second-in-command. "As expected," Jovac replied, his voice calm and measured. "These humans are an anomaly in our records. They developed from primitive tool users to space travelers in less than 10 millennia. The Imperial Council views them as unstable and dangerous." Trelnak nodded in agreement. "Their history shows constant conflict among themselves. If they bring such behavior into the broader galaxy, precisely why we must either control them or eliminate them," Jovac concluded. He turned to the weapons officer. "Begin the attack sequence. Target their largest vessels first." The Imperial ships fired in perfect unison, energy beams cutting through space toward Earth's fleet. Jovac watched dispassionately as the first human ships took direct hits, their shields failing almost instantly against the Empire's superior weapons. "Primitive technology," he commented. "Their shields cannot even withstand our lowest power settings." What puzzled him, however, was the humans' response, or rather, their lack of one. Instead of attempting to evade or return fire, the human ships maintained their formation. "High Commander," called the science officer from her station, "we're detecting unusual energy patterns from the human vessels." Jovac frowned. "Weapons?" "No, sir. They appear to be powering up some kind of communication array. They're directing a massive amount of energy into their communication systems." Communication. Now, Jovac's frown deepened. In thousands of years of Imperial expansion, no species had ever responded to an attack by trying to talk. They either fought back or surrendered. "High Commander," Trelnak interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies simultaneously." "Put it through," Jovac ordered. The main view screen remained blank, but 3 simple words appeared, transmitted in perfect Imperial standard. "We are human." Jovac stared at the message in confusion. "Is that all?" Before anyone could answer, the message began appearing on every screen throughout the bridge. The navigation console, the weapons control station, the environmental systems, all displayed the same 3 words. "Shut it down," Jovac commanded as alarms began to sound across the bridge. "How are they accessing our systems?" The crew worked frantically at their stations, but the message continued to spread. Combat systems failed. Navigation went offline. Life support flickered. "High Commander," the science officer called, her voice rising with concern. "There's some kind of information package attached to the transmission. It's bypassing our firewalls and downloading directly into our central database." "Isolate the main computer," Jovac ordered. "Cut all connections to the fleet network." "It's too late," Trelnak reported. "The package has already spread to every ship in the fleet, and it's—" He hesitated, his hands moving rapidly over his console. "It's connecting to our neural interfaces. Every member of the Imperial fleet wore a neural implant that connected them to their ships and to each other. It was how the Empire maintained perfect coordination among its vast forces. But now those same implants were becoming a vulnerability." "Disconnect all neural interfaces immediately," Jovac commanded, reaching up to deactivate his own implant. But before he could touch it, information began flooding into his mind. Images, sounds, emotions, history, human history. Part 2. The message. On the Earth flagship Defiant, Captain Alina Reyes watched as the Imperial advance halted. The alien ships stopped firing, hanging motionless in space like a swarm of deadly insects suddenly frozen in time. "It's working," Lieutenant Tanaka whispered from his station. "The transmission is penetrating their systems." Elena nodded, feeling the mixture of relief and tension. Phase 1 complete. Now we wait to see if Phase 2 accomplishes what our scientists predicted. Project Prometheus wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was an information package, a complete history of humanity. Every war, every atrocity, every act of kindness, every triumph against impossible odds. Along with it was a sophisticated virus designed to integrate this information directly into the Empire's neural networks. The plan had been developed after Earth's first contact with the Krivak 3 months ago. When the diplomatic team returned from that meeting, they brought with them crucial intelligence. The Empire's military forces used neural implants to maintain communication and coordination. Earth's greatest minds had worked day and night to create a program that could infiltrate those implants and deliver a message that weapons never could. "Let them see us," Elena had told her crew when explaining the plan. "Let them understand what they're facing." "Captain," called the sensor officer, "I'm detecting power fluctuations throughout the Imperial fleet. Their weapon systems are going offline." Elena nodded. "Maintain current position. All ships stand by." "Do you think they'll listen?" Tanaka asked quietly, so only Elena could hear. "They don't have a choice," Elena replied. "Right now, their entire neural network is being flooded with our history, everything we've ever done, good and bad." Tanaka's expression was troubled. "Some of that history isn't very flattering, Captain." "No," Elena agreed. "But that's the point. We're not hiding who we are. We're showing them exactly what they're dealing with." High Commander Jovac staggered as the information continued to flood into his mind through his neural implant. He saw humans fighting wars that spanned their entire planet. He witnessed their determination to survive against plagues, natural disasters, and their own self-destructive tendencies. He saw how quickly they had advanced from primitive technology to space travel, how they had nearly destroyed themselves multiple times, but always rebuilt, how they valued individual freedom above all else, and would fight to the death to preserve it. Most disturbing of all, he saw their response to threats throughout their history. Humans had displayed an almost irrational refusal to surrender, even when faced with overwhelming odds. They would endure unimaginable suffering rather than submit to rule they deemed unjust. "High Commander." Trelnak's voice seemed to come from far away. "We must retreat. Our systems are compromised, and this information, it's affecting the crew." Jovac looked around the bridge. His officers were at their stations, but their expressions showed the same shock and disbelief he felt. Many were viewing scenes from human history through their implants, watching as these primitives fought battles more devastating than anything in Imperial records. The Imperial database contained information on thousands of species. Most had been easy to conquer or assimilate. Others had required more forceful subjugation. But none had ever shown the combination of traits that humans possessed: their adaptability, their tenacity, their willingness to die for abstract concepts like freedom. "This species doesn't surrender," Jovac murmured, "even when victory is impossible." One particular image kept repeating in his mind: a single human standing defiantly in front of a column of war machines, refusing to move despite certain death. It was from an internal human conflict centuries ago, but it perfectly captured what made these creatures so dangerous. "Sir, we're losing control of our ship systems," reported the engineering officer. "The human virus is embedded too deeply. We can maintain life support and engines, but weapons and shields will take days to restore." Jovac made his decision. In his 15,000 years commanding Imperial forces, he had never retreated. But he had also never encountered a species like humanity. "Signal all vessels," he ordered. "Disengage and withdraw to the edge of the solar system." Trelnak looked shocked. "Withdraw." But the Imperial Council ordered. "The Council didn't receive this information," Jovac interrupted. "They don't know what we're facing. These humans," he struggled to find the right words, "they're unlike anything in our records. If we attempt to conquer them now, while our systems are compromised, they will fight with everything they have. And based on what I've seen, that would be costly." Throughout the Imperial fleet, similar realizations were dawning. The humans had not built a large fleet because they didn't need to. They had a different kind of weapon altogether, themselves. Slowly, the massive alien armada began to move away from Earth's defensive perimeter, not in defeat, but in tactical retreat to reassess a situation that had suddenly become far more complex than a simple conquest. Captain Alina Reyes stood motionless on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the main screen as the Imperial fleet pulled back. No one spoke. The only sounds were the soft beeps of consoles and the hum of life support systems. "They're retreating to the edge of the solar system," Lieutenant Tanaka finally said, breaking the silence. "All ships are maintaining formation, but their weapon systems appear to be offline." Elena nodded slowly. "Any communication from them?" "No, Captain. Not since our transmission." Project Prometheus had been deployed just 20 minutes ago, and already the most powerful military force in the known galaxy was withdrawing. Elena felt a complex mix of emotions: relief that Earth had been spared, pride in humanity's ingenuity, but also concern about what would come next. "Captain," called the communications officer, "Admiral Chen is requesting a status update." "Put her through," Elena ordered. The Admiral's face appeared on screen, her expression a mixture of hope and disbelief. "Captain, our sensors show the Imperial fleet is withdrawing." "Is it working?" "It appears so, Admiral," Elena replied. "They've ceased fire and are pulling back to the edge of the solar system. We've had no communication from them since the transmission." Chen's eyes widened slightly. "So they're processing the information, just as Dr. Nakamura predicted." "It seems that way. Their neural network is integrated into their command structure. They're literally experiencing human history firsthand." The Admiral was silent for a moment, considering the implications. "What do you think they'll do next?" "I don't know," Elena admitted, "but I believe we've shown them that conquering Earth would come at a price they're not willing to pay." "Let's hope they're rational enough to see that," Chen said. "Maintain your position, Captain. I'll update the Security Council." As the Admiral's image faded, Tanaka approached Elena's chair. "Captain, new reading from the Imperial flagship. They're requesting communication." Elena straightened in her chair. "Put it through." High Commander Jovac appeared on the screen once more. His demeanor had changed subtly. The cold superiority was gone, replaced by something Elena couldn't quite identify. "Captain Reyes," he began, his voice more measured than before, "your message has been received." "I'm glad to hear it, High Commander," Elena replied carefully. "Does this mean the Krivak Empire is open to peaceful negotiations?" Jovac seemed to consider his words carefully. "The Empire has existed for 12,000 years by adhering to certain principles. One of those principles is the careful management of technological development among younger species. And another principle, I assume, is the efficient allocation of resources," Elena suggested. "Conquering Earth would require resources that might be better used elsewhere." A flicker of what might have been appreciation crossed Jovac's face. "You understand strategy, Captain." "Yes, the Imperial Council will need to reassess the situation regarding Earth." "Perhaps we could assist in that reassessment," Elena offered. "We propose a diplomatic summit. No neural interfaces, no weapons, just honest conversation between our peoples." Jovac was silent for a long moment. "Your history is troubling, Captain Reyes. You fight among yourselves. You destroy your own environment. You nearly annihilated your species multiple times." "That's true," Elena acknowledged. "We're not perfect, but we learn from our mistakes, and we keep trying to be better. That's also human history. And if the Empire were to leave you to develop on your own, what assurance do we have that you wouldn't become a threat to galactic stability?" Elena leaned forward. "The same assurance you have from any species, High Commander. The knowledge that cooperation benefits everyone more than conflict. We don't want war with the Krivak Empire. We want to learn from you, trade with you, explore the galaxy with you, but we insist on doing so as equals." Another long pause. "Very well, Captain. I will convey your proposal to the Imperial Council. Until then, we will maintain our position at the edge of your solar system. Thank you, High Commander, Alina said. We look forward to building a new relationship between our peoples. As the transmission ended, a cautious cheer erupted across the bridge. Alina raised her hand for silence. This isn't over, she reminded them. It's just the beginning. The Krivak are still deciding whether we're worth the trouble of conquering. Our job is to convince them that we're more valuable as allies than as subjects. Do you think they'll listen? Tanaka asked. Alina gazed at the display, showing the distant Imperial fleet. They've already started listening, Lieutenant. That's why we're still here. 3 weeks later, Alina stood in the Grand Hall of the newly constructed United Earth Embassy, watching as High Commander Jovac signed the Treaty of Mars, the first formal agreement between humanity and the Krivak Empire. The terms were far from perfect, but they established Earth as an independent entity within the broader galactic community. A remarkable achievement, Captain, Admiral Chen said, joining Alina by the window overlooking the Martian landscape. From the brink of extinction to diplomatic recognition in less than a month. We got lucky, Alina admitted. We found their weakness just in time. Chen shook her head. Not luck. Understanding. You realize that the Krivak's greatest strength, their neural network, could also be their greatest vulnerability. Not to attack them, but to make them understand us. Alina watched as Jovac approached, flanked by his aides. Captain Reyes, the High Commander greeted her. The Council has approved your request for technological exchange. Within limits, of course. Of course, Alina smiled. We understand the need for caution, High Commander. Earth has its own history with rapid technological advancement. Indeed, Jovac's 4 eyes studied her carefully. I must confess, Captain, in 12,000 years of Imperial service, I never expected to negotiate with a species that had just emerged from planetary confinement. We're full of surprises, Alina replied. It's part of what makes us human. Yes, Jovac agreed, his voice containing a new note of respect. That is a lesson the Empire will not soon forget. As the High Commander returned to his delegation, Chen turned to Alina. You know they're still afraid of us, don't you? That's why they're being so accommodating. Alina nodded. Yes, they still haven't completely disconnected from the information we sent them. Every time they look at us, they remember what we're capable of. The depths we can sink to, but also the heights we can reach. And is that enough to keep the peace? Chen wondered. Alina watched the human and Krivak diplomats mingling cautiously in the hall. For now, she said. For the future, we'll have to show them that the best parts of our history are the ones worth repeating. Outside, the stars continued their eternal vigil, witnesses to humanity's first steps into a much larger universe. Not as conquerors or subjects, but as themselves. It was enough. It had to be.